Hey everybody, Fentress Driskell here with this week's edition of the Driskell Debrief, checking in on you after this election. There was so much going on election night. There wasn't the possibility of actually being able to hold this space. But man, have I missed it. Have I missed you all? And really just want to have some time tonight to check in. Hopefully we can hear from you all in the chat and hear about how you've been in this past week as we are in this new reality after this election. And just wanted to check in and just be kind of honest and real about how I'm doing, how I'm feeling about things, and would love to hear from you too about how you're feeling. I'll tell you, it makes me think back to 2016, which is not a perfect parallel, but I mean, I remember volunteering for Hillary in 2016, and I remember feeling very hopeful. And that's a parallel, right? Like we had a lot of hope heading into this election that Kamala Harris would win. And I remember having volunteered in trying to do my part with election protection to make sure that people could cast their vote lawfully, and just feeling really good about it, like I had done my part, and going to bed and waking up to a reality that was just completely different than what I would have imagined. And I'm somebody, for those of you who know my story, I'm a Florida native. I grew up here, went to Florida's public schools, went off to school for college and law school, but moved back here because I knew I wanted to give back to the community that had given so much to me. And I woke up on November 9th after that election day and just felt like, what the heck happened? Felt like, how could our country do this? Felt like it didn't feel right to me that things had become so heated and so acrimonious that neighbors could no longer even talk to each other. Hey, Carolyn, I see you. You feel awful still. I see you in the chat. My heart goes out. And I just remember I spent like half the day in bed on that Wednesday after the election, like no joke. And I can remember calling my mom and talking to her, and just I couldn't understand. And she told me in that moment that we've been through struggles before. She was speaking particularly to Black people, but I feel like this could apply to anybody. And she's like, our ancestors' blood is in this land, and we are going to fight, and you're going to get up, and you're going to fight, and you're going to do the next thing, and let's go. And it was a reminder to me of who I am, independent of any particular circumstance. And I'm not gonna lie, I needed that. I needed that same kind of pep talk when we're talking November 6th. I mean, there's a lot of us, a lot of you out there who poured your heart and soul into this election, only to have results that just feel awful and inexplicable, and with all the anxiety that comes from wondering and worrying what a Donald Trump presidency is going to bring. And I guess I just wanted to be very open with you that I feel that. I feel you. Like I feel it too. Just because I'm an elected official doesn't mean that I feel that any less. Because at the end of the day, we're all people, we're all human, and we all feel those anxieties and those fears around those vulnerabilities. Yeah, there are appointments that are happening right now in the administration that just makes me wonder where we're headed. I'll tell you that, like, I think y'all know that in my role, not just as a candidate, but as leader, we were working so hard trying to help candidates win House seats around the state. We had a very modest goal, honestly, of just trying to flip a small number of seats, not because it's necessarily true that Democrats always get everything right, but that it's important for there to be balance in our government. It's important for there to be, frankly, checks and balances. And what we've seen in Tallahassee and our state legislature for too long is that the legislature's just become a rubber stamp for Ron DeSantis. And that's not how it's supposed to work. There's supposed to be tension and push and pull, like there's supposed to be negotiations, but we have a governor who frankly just dominates and just gets whatever it is that he wants. And we were just trying to bring a little bit of a balance to that. And no, the election results were not what we'd hoped. And then I watched as friends who were running races across the state at the county level, just at different levels of government, were not able to win their races because of the wave that happened and how Florida performed and went so far for Trump. And I don't know. I wonder how y'all feel out there, because I mean, it occurs to me that whatever we have to do to rebuild in Florida, it's more like a marathon than a sprint. And this is probably going to take some time before we can come back and truly be competitive as an entire state. But I do still think that Florida's worth fighting for, whether you were born here, whether you're a Floridian by choice. Like, we all are in this state because on some level we love it, or like being here, or have loved ones here, or a job here, or something. And to the extent that we want to see a brighter future for our state, then the one thing I know for sure, like how Oprah says, what do you know for sure? I mean, the one thing I know for sure is that we're going to have to be in it for the long haul. And I don't think we can be afraid that it might be a long haul. And when I look to on election night and the days after, when they would hold up that map of the country, and you see that this state went red and that state went red, and you see so much red in that map. I don't know how it felt to you, but to me, it almost felt like erasure, because it doesn't take into account all the blue votes in whatever state. And I think that can, maybe I'm just speaking for myself, but it can almost make you feel like alone and isolated. Like, is anybody out there? But yes, there are tens of millions of us out there who voted blue, but who don't get reflected in that map, because that's how the Electoral College works, and it's winner take all. But I also think it's important to remember that states don't vote, people do. Land doesn't vote, people do. You can look at that map and it can look like from coast to coast, America's red, but that's not representative of all the voters and the beautiful diversity of thought and opinion that we have. And frankly, those of you out there, those of us out there who voted for the most qualified candidate, presidential candidate in history, that being Kamala Harris. And so, yeah, just really wanted to check in with you and see how you're feeling. I mean, the other thing that was astonishing to me, we look at what happened with the amendments, particularly Amendment 4 and Amendment 3. Amendment 3 was to provide legalized use, adult use of marijuana, to legalize adult use of marijuana. And then you had Amendment 4, which was to protect the right to have an abortion, which really, it's more so about keeping the government out of personal medical decisions. And when we look at Amendment 4 in particular, there were more than 57% of Floridians who voted for that. That's clearly a majority. But the only reason that it failed was because Republicans have put up hurdles to make it harder for Floridians to pass ballot initiatives. So ballot initiatives are one of the ways that Florida's constitution can be amended, and it actually puts the power in the hands of the people. Otherwise, the legislature can pass the bill, and then we put that to the people in the form of a ballot amendment that you can vote on, or there's the Constitutional Revision Commission that can propose amendments to the Constitution. But we also have this very special process that very few states have, where we can actually take it directly to the people. And that's what happened with Amendment 4. You had people work so hard. Probably some of you out there worked hard to collect petitions and to help put this, in front of the voters so the voters could make a decision. And you had all this momentum with Republicans, NPAs, no party affiliates, and Democrats signing these petitions to get it on the ballot. And then just as there was momentum building, just as it felt like things were starting to get close, what do we see? The governor swept in and spent millions of your dollars and my dollars, taxpayer dollars. He actually used opioid settlement money. This is just, to me, beyond the pale, because Florida is like many states. We've been devastated by the opioid epidemic. So you have the settlement funds that are supposed to be for a specific use, certainly not weaponized against the will of the people, which is what we saw the governor do with Amendment 4. And so then when you see that not pass, of course, it's easy to feel discouraged. But I just want to remind you that there were 57% of voters who voted in favor of that. And I get so tired. I get so tired of these obstacles, frankly, that our opposition puts up just to make it harder for us to exercise our voice through our vote. Again, I know many of you worked really hard. You phone banked, you called, you did what you had to do. You gave small dollars, big dollars, whatever it is, how you contributed, you voted. And it can feel empty, frankly, because the results didn't turn out how we wanted it to. And I just wanted you to know that I feel that too. I've been feeling it for the past week. It's been really like quite a challenge, and I think that it's important to find community in that and to make sure that you are taking care of yourself in the midst of these stressful times that we are living in. I think that's very important. I think, like I mentioned at the top of our conversation, that this is going to be a marathon and not a sprint. And that means that we have to take the time to feel whole and to be healthy and to be ready to come back to the work with our full selves. Now, some of y'all are out there and you're already wondering what you can do. Okay. And I have some members of my team who are like that. Everybody is different. Everybody's different. Some folks are going to need to take time. That's okay. I want to say it's okay to not be okay. But if there are those of you who are looking for things to do, I actually have a few ideas about that. So I can share that with you too. And if any of it resonates, feel free to take it and run with it. If it doesn't, again, that's okay. Everybody's different. You might need to take your time. So I did mention, first of all, make sure that you take care of yourself. Second, there are a lot of municipal elections that are about to come into focus, like local and municipal races. They tend to not happen at the same time as the November election cycle. A lot of them will happen like January, March of next year. Some of them are going to be in April. So you can find a local candidate that you want to support and you can help that person. Because if November 5th of last week showed us anything, is that we can take nothing for granted. We can take nothing for granted. We have got to show up and we've got to do our part to help our voters show up as well. So that's something that you can do right now. It sounds like a long time away, but really we're talking like 5 months away. We're going to have some very key elections. And so that's a way to get plugged in at the local level. And we know that all politics are local. And please know that those are races oftentimes that are decided just by 10 votes, like a dozen or so votes. Like you could have a real impact by working with a local candidate. And maybe some of you out there want to even step up and you want to run yourselves because you want to be a part of the change that you want to see in the world. And that's okay too. Then you better get started and start researching and see what's coming up in your area. Next, you can call a friend or a neighbor and check in on them. I would not take it for granted right now that everybody is feeling okay. And sometimes people just need to hear from you. They just need to hear from you and they just need you to maybe not even have all the answers, but just to check in on them and ask if they're okay and hold space for a friend or a neighbor, a loved one, someone who just might need to hear from you and to feel a little bit of support. And honestly, in having conversations like that, it's helped me feel more like a person again. Just to be able to share with people and be real honest and transparent about where things are and how I'm feeling. So maybe you could be the space where somebody can share or vent or whatever it is that they need to do. A third thing you can do, you can call someone who is just waking up to what's going on and help to explain your point of view and help to educate them. I think we're going to need to re-educate a lot of voters throughout this country. There are folks, I haven't personally spoken to them, but I've heard multiple stories of folks who said things like, wait, can I go back and change your vote? Baby, can't change your vote. That's that. There are people who maybe didn't realize what they were voting for. They didn't realize that what would happen, what their new reality would be should Trump actually carry through on some of his campaign promises. I've heard a lot of buyer's remorse. If you've got folks like that in your life, who maybe they're just coming back online to reality and they're having those second thoughts, maybe look at it as an opportunity to educate them. I mean, and really look at it as an opportunity, not so much to say, I told you so. That might feel good in the moment, But the reality is that it truly is an opportunity to reach somebody and to help them understand. And I think sometimes we forget that most people don't think about politics as much as we think they do. Although I also feel like it's true that more people have been leading with politics in their identity than ever. But if you see a window like that, I would encourage you to take it and to really have real talk with people about what is going on and how they can make a different decision the next time, how they could make a better decision the next time. Don't take it for granted that people have all the information that maybe you do, and maybe you can help get through. Maybe you can help them, like I said, make a better decision next time. Maybe you can help teach them too how to make these decisions, where to look for in terms of reliable news sources. The amount of misinformation and disinformation out there is just astonishing. It can't be that we're getting everything from Twitter and everything from social media or X or social media. We've got to get back to some basics and like trying to really seek out news sources that are reliable. The other thing I'd like to ask you to do, if you have ideas for us, please feel free to email those. You can email it to yourvoice@venturesforflorida.com. That's yourvoice@venturesforflorida.com. We'd love to hear from you with the ideas that you have, and we're open to that. I want you to know I will never stop fighting for you. I will never stop fighting for you. I will never stop fighting for you. Ever, ever. Even though things didn't go the way that we wanted to with those House elections, I'm still serving in the Florida legislature. And I got to talk with some of my members today, and I reminded them we are the only line between that bad legislation that we continue to see coming down the pike in Tallahassee and the people of Florida. We have a job to do. And the election doesn't change that outcome. We still have to do that job. We still have to fight for you. And you have my commitment that we will do that. I will never stop fighting for you. And although there will come a time in the future to discuss what plans look like and comprehensive plans and how we're going to do this and that, all of that is important, but that is not what this space is for, not tonight. And honestly, if I'm real honest with you, I'm still processing through a lot of that myself. And I think there's a lot that we felt like we knew before the election that now we have to challenge every convention and every notion. So I can't sit here tonight with a straight face and try to give you a comprehensive plan. That's not what this is for. But I am so open to being that space if you need it to share, right? Like that's what this space is for tonight. And I can tell you that we're working on it. And like I mentioned before, there's still so much that you can be doing in the meantime. First, make sure you're taking care of yourself. So if it means taking a break so you can come back to the work once again, that is a perfectly fair thing to do. If you need resources or help, we're here. We'd love to hear your stories. Again, that email address is yourvoice@venturesforflorida.com. We want to hear from you. If you are in crisis, do not go it alone. Do not go it alone. You should know that Florida has what's known as a warm line. If you are struggling mentally, if you're having behavioral health problems, but you're not in crisis. So they will give you someone to talk through and provide you support. So maybe you're not feeling suicidal. Maybe you're not in an immediate crisis, but you feel like you need some support. There is a line that you can call for free and get that support. It's Florida's Warm Line. They'll give you somebody to talk to. They run it from 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. every day. Their number, and we'll put it on the screen, is 800-945-1355. Their operators are non-clinical board certified recovery peer specialists and nationally certified peer specialists who also battle with their own mental health issues. So these are folks who will know and understand what it is that you are going through and be able to help you, not just out of their own education and professional experience, but also through what they have lived in their own lives. So it's an amazing service that not many people know about. So if you or a friend could benefit from that, we encourage you to use it because it's there for you and to be here for you in this time of great stress, honestly, and anxiety. If you are in crisis, you are experiencing a mental health crisis, you can also dial 988. That is a national line. You can dial 988 and get connected to resources and help that you might need, because no one should have to go it alone. None of us should have to go it alone. There are resources out there. There are people who really do want to help and who want to be there for you. So, yeah, I mean, I feel like that's what I have to share with you tonight. And I didn't want it to be another week before we checked in and before we had our time. Like I told you, I really look forward to this space. I love to hear from you all. I think it's important to have real conversations and real talk. I know that not just for Florida's future, but for America's future, there's going to be a lot of rebuilding to do, and we're going to have to do this step by step. I know it's going to take all of us. I know that if we give up, actually, I know that giving up is not an option. It's really not. It's really not. Like we've come too far. Like women have come too far. Like minority communities have come too far. Like giving up is not an option, but I do feel like it's important to take a beat and make sure that we can come back to the work as wholly as we can. And I know that it's very important for us to find those ways to resist. I also know that just because we lost an election doesn't mean that we were wrong, because it will always be right to stand up for those who can't stand up for themselves. It will always be right to fight for a more fair and equitable and just America that is inclusive of everybody. That's always right, and that's always on time. And so that's one of the thoughts that will keep me going. So anyway, I just wanted to check in with you. I won't belabor the night, and I'll give you your time back. But thank you for checking in, and we're in this for the long haul. So we'll see you next time.